Admiral Taewon Park sat on his wooden porch. He looked at the green hills that spread out before his small house in rural Korea. The morning sun was warm on his face as he sipped his tea. At 72 years old, he had been retired from Earth's Defense Force for 7 years. His hands were not as steady as they once were. These hands had once controlled Earth's most powerful warships. Now they took care of tomato plants and fed chickens. He liked this quiet life, but he missed the stars sometimes. On this morning, Taewon watched a bird land on his fence. Then his phone rang. The sound was sharp in the quiet morning. He looked at the screen. It was a number he had not seen in years. "Hello," he said. "Admiral." "Park." The voice was tense. "This is General Hoon. Please turn on your television." Taewon went inside and turned on the news. What he saw made his old heart beat faster. Huge, dark ships hung in the sky over Seoul. They were like nothing Earth had built. The news showed similar ships over cities around the world: Tokyo, New York, London, Beijing. "What are they?" Taewon asked, though he knew the answer. "Aliens. After all these years, they had finally come. They call themselves the Koru," said General Hoon. "They arrived 3 hours ago. No warning. They went past all our early alert systems." Taewon watched people running in the streets on the television. Police tried to keep order. Military vehicles moved through the city. "What do they want?" Taewon asked. "They say they want our resources: iron, water, uranium. They say Earth must give these things to them or they will attack." Taewon nodded. It was what he had always feared. His retirement home was not just a place to grow old. It was also a place to wait, a place to be ready. "What is the Defense Force doing?" he asked. "Fighting back. But their ships are very strong. Our weapons don't hurt them much. Admiral, the Council is meeting. They want to talk to you." Taewon finished his tea in one drink. "I'll be ready." He hung up and walked to the back of his house. There, he moved a rug to show a metal door in the floor. He pressed his hand against it. The door recognized him and opened. Steps led down to a small room filled with screens and computers. This room was his secret. Not even his family knew about it. Taewon turned on the main screen. Soon, the faces of 12 people appeared. They were the World Defense Council, the leaders who controlled Earth's military forces. They looked worried. "Admiral Park," said the head of the council, an older woman named Yoon. "Thank you for joining us. You know about the aliens." "I've seen them," said Taewon. "The Koru, yes. Our active forces are fighting, but we are losing. General Kim is doing his best, but the Koru have better technology. We need your help." Taewon was not surprised. He had helped create a secret plan many years ago. It was called Protocol Omega. The plan was made for a day like this, a day when Earth faced an enemy too strong for its regular military. "You want to activate Protocol Omega," he said. The council members looked at each other. Then they all nodded. "Yes," said Yoon. "It's time. We are contacting all retired high-level officers. Not to return to duty, but to activate them under Protocol Omega." Taewon took a deep breath. Protocol Omega was both simple and terrible. It gave retired military leaders complete freedom to fight back against an invader. No rules. No need to ask permission. No oversight. In normal times, such freedom would be dangerous. Weapons without control could harm the innocent. Power without limits could be misused. This was why there were rules, chains of command, and oversight in the military. But these were not normal times. "I understand," said Taewon. "Send me the activation codes." As they talked, the situation got worse. Reports came in from around the world. The Koru ships were landing in cities. Troops were coming out, soldiers with 6 limbs and hard shells like insects. They carried weapons that fired energy instead of bullets. Earth's active military fought back. Tanks fired at the alien ships, jets dropped bombs, soldiers shot at the Koru troops. But it wasn't enough. The alien shields stopped most attacks. Their weapons cut through Earth's best armor. Just as the Council sent Taiwan his activation, Code's news came that Seoul had fallen. The Koru controlled the city. Similar reports came from other cities around the world. "They're moving faster than we expected," said one council member. "General Kim requests permission to use nuclear weapons." "No," said Yoon firmly. "Not yet. We have cities to protect, people to save. Give Protocol Omega time to work." Taiwan entered his activation code into his system. Screens lit up around his small underground room. Maps showed the positions of Koru ships and troops. Communication channels opened to other retired officers around the world. A face appeared on his main screen. It was Yoonji Cho, once his top, tactical officer. She was in her 60s now, but her eyes were as sharp as ever. "Admiral," she said with a slight smile, "it's been too long." "Colonel Cho," he replied, "are you ready?" "My team is already moving. The Koru have a command center in what was the main train station. We'll hit it in 30 minutes. More faces appeared on other screens. Do-hyun Bae, once Earth's best ground combat leader. Soo-jin Kang, who had commanded the North American Defense Fleet. Ji-young Lee, whose tactics had won the last war. All retired, all now activated under Protocol Omega. "The Koru made a big mistake," said Do-hyun. "They studied our active forces but ignored us, the retired ones." "A common error," Ji-young replied. "They think retirement means we are no longer warriors." Taiwan studied the maps and data flowing across his screens. The Koru were strong but predictable. They used tactics that showed they were used to winning. Easily. "They don't understand what we've done," said Taiwan. "Why we retire our best commanders when they reach their peak. They don't know that we are not removed from service. We are set aside, kept in reserve, waiting." "For this day," said Yoonji. Taiwan nodded. "For this day, when rules would only slow us down, when asking permission would waste time we don't have." He opened a channel to all Protocol Omega commanders around the world. There were thousands of them. Retired admirals, generals, colonels, and commanders, each one a master of war, each one now free to act without limits. "This is Admiral Park," he said. "Protocol Omega is in effect. You all know what that means. Earth's active forces will continue their conventional fight. But we will be the shadow war. We will hit the Koru where they don't expect. Use your hidden resources. Use your secret plans. Do what you know needs to be done." He paused, looking at the faces of these old warriors. Men and women who had been too dangerous to keep in command during peace, too willing to take necessary risks, too knowledgeable about classified systems and secret weapons. "The Council has given us what they never could in peacetime," Taiwan continued. "Freedom to act without oversight, freedom to win at any cost. The Koru believe they have defeated Earth's military. Let's show them they've only met our first line of defense." As night fell over his small house in the Korean countryside, Taiwan watched the first reports come in. A Koru supply depot in Busan collapsed into the ground when hidden charges liquefied the soil beneath it. A communication center in Berlin suddenly lost power when systems that weren't on any official blueprints activated. A Koru ship over Vancouver found its own weapons turning against it. The Koru had won against Earth's regular military. But now, they faced its retired commanders, those who no longer needed permission to kill. The real war was just beginning. By sunrise, Taiwan's quiet country home had changed. His basement was no longer just a secret room. It was now a war center. Screens showed where Koru ships were. Maps tracked alien troops. Computers talked to other retired commanders all over the world. Taiwan had not slept. His old body was tired, but his mind was sharp. He sipped strong coffee as he studied the latest reports. The news was not good. Earth's regular military was losing badly. The Koru had taken control of most major Cities. Their technology was too advanced. Their shields stopped most Earth weapons. Their ships were too fast and strong. But there was also good news. Protocol Omega was working. All around the world, retired military leaders were fighting back in ways the Koru did not expect. Major General Do-hyun Bae's face appeared on Taewon's main screen. Do-hyun was 75 years old with white hair and deep wrinkles, but his eyes were clear and focused. "My network in Asia is fully active," Do-hyun reported. "We have hit 12 Koru supply points in the last 6 hours. Another face joined. The call. Vice Admiral Soo-jin Kang. She had once led Earth's forces in North America. Now she was supposed to be retired and living quietly in Canada. "Same in North America," she said. 53 retired officers are now active in my region. We've disrupted their communications in 3 major cities." Taewon nodded. "How many of us are active worldwide?" "Over 2,000 now," said Do-hyun. "And more coming online every hour. The old communications network is working well." This was the power of Protocol Omega. For years, Earth had been retiring its best military minds, commanders who had fought in past wars, leaders who knew too many secrets, officers who were too willing to do what was needed to win. In peace, such people could be dangerous. But they were not sent away. They were kept ready, a hidden force for the darkest days. "The Koru made a big mistake," said Commodore Ji-young Lee, joining the call. Her image showed her on what looked like a fishing boat. But Taewon knew that boat had hidden weapons and technology. "They only studied our active military. They didn't look at retired personnel." "Because they don't retire their warriors," said Taewon. "In their culture, fighters serve until they die or can no longer fight. The idea of setting aside your best warriors at the peak of their skills makes no sense to them." "Their mistake," said Soo-jin. "Our advantage." Taewon turned to a different screen. It showed the city of Busan, now under Koru control. The aliens had set up a large base in what used to be the city center. They probably thought it was a safe location. They were wrong. 20 years ago, when Taewon had helped design the new subway system for Busan, he had added some features that weren't on the public plans. Tunnels that didn't appear on maps, supports that could be removed, systems that could change the ground itself. "Colonel Huang, are you in position?" Taewon asked. A new face appeared. Retired Engineer Corps Colonel Min-soo Huang. He was in a subway tunnel dressed as a maintenance worker. "Yes, Admiral. I'm at Control Point 7. The Koru don't watch these old tunnels much. They think they're just for trains." "Begin the operation," ordered Taewon. Min-soo nodded and pressed his hand to a hidden panel on the tunnel wall. Deep underground, machines that had waited for years came to life. They sent careful vibrations into the soil under the Koru base. The vibrations made the soil act like water. On Taewon's screen, he watched as 3 city blocks slowly sank into the ground. Koru troops ran in panic. Their heavy equipment disappeared into the earth. Within 5 minutes, a major alien base was gone, swallowed by the ground. "Operation complete," reported Min-soo. "Moving to my next position." Similar attacks were happening all over the world. In London, retired Commander Kyung-min Jang used hidden weapons in the Thames River to destroy Koru ships. In Sydney, former Special Forces leader Dalmi Song led a team that took over a Koru communications tower. In Rio de Janeiro, retired Defense Chief Han Sol-choi activated orbital weapons that officially didn't exist. None of these retired officers asked for permission. None had to report their plans to higher command. None had to follow the usual rules of war. They had spent decades preparing for this day. Each had their own plans, their own hidden resources, their own secret weapons. On the main Koru command ship in orbit, Supreme Commander Vrex was angry. Reports were coming in from all over the planet. His forces were being attacked in ways they had not expected. Equipment was failing. Communications were being cut. Supply lines were broken. "How is this happening?" Vrex demanded of his officers. We destroyed their main military bases. We control their command centers. Their leaders are our prisoners. Who is organizing these attacks?" His intelligence chief shifted nervously. All 6 of his limbs moved in discomfort. "That's the problem. Supreme Commander, we cannot find a central command. These attacks don't follow any pattern we can see. They're happening everywhere, but they don't seem connected." "Impossible." Vrex's compound eyes flashed with anger. "No military can fight without a chain of command. There must be orders coming from somewhere." "We've checked all known communication frequencies," said the intelligence chief. "We've watched all their satellites. We can't find any central command signals." Vrex didn't understand what was happening. In Koru society, all warriors followed a strict chain of command. Orders came from above. No one acted alone. The idea of thousands of commanders, each fighting their own war, made no sense to him, but that was exactly what was happening. Protocol Omega had unleashed Earth's retired warriors. They weren't following orders from above. They were following their own experience, their own judgment, their own plans. By the end of the first week, the Koru still controlled most major cities. Their ships still dominated the skies. On the surface, they were winning, but their victory was beginning to fall apart. They couldn't move supplies safely. Their communications kept failing. Their equipment broke down in strange ways, and every day they lost more troops to attacks that seemed to come from nowhere. In his command center, Taewan watched the reports with grim satisfaction. The Koru had won against Earth's active military, the forces that fought by the rules, that needed permission, that had to follow the chain of command. But now they faced a different enemy. They faced the old warriors, those who had been set aside because they were too dangerous, too clever, too willing to do whatever it took to win. They faced Earth's retired commanders, and these commanders no longer needed anyone's permission to kill. "Send word to all Protocol Omega members," Taewan told his communications officer. "Phase 1 is complete. Begin Phase 2. The real fight was just beginning. 2 weeks after the invasion began, Supreme Commander Vrex was very angry. His large insect-like body moved back and forth across the command room of his ship. His 6 limbs twitched with frustration. By all normal ways of counting, the Koru Empire had won this war. They controlled Earth's major cities. They had disabled the main military bases. They held Earth's political leaders prisoner. Yet each day brought new problems. Koru ships exploded for no clear reason. Supply depots vanished, communication systems failed, troops disappeared on routine patrols. The victory that had seemed certain was slipping away. "Bring me answers!" Vrex shouted at his officers. "Who is fighting us? Where are the orders coming from?" His intelligence chief entered the room. He moved slowly, afraid to bring more bad news. "Supreme Commander, we have captured one of their operation leaders." Vrex's compound eyes focused sharply. "Bring this human to me." 2 Koru guards led in an older human. It was retired Vice Admiral Yanwoo Choi. At 68 years old, he walked with a slight limp from an old injury. But he stood straight and looked at Vrex without fear. "You will tell me how Earth continues to fight despite our victory over your military," Vrex demanded. Yanwoo smiled slightly. "You still don't understand humans, do you? Yes, you defeated our active military, but you never faced our real defenders." "Explain," Vrex said harshly. "On Earth, we retire our most experienced warriors when they reach the peak of their abilities. We remove them from the regular command structure." "Why would you discard your best warriors?" Vrex asked, genuinely confused. In Koru society, warriors fought until death, or until they could no longer fight. The idea of removing the most experienced fighters made no sense. "We don't discard them," Yanwoo explained. "We set them aside. Their knowledge stays intact, their skills remain sharp, but we free them from the rules and structures that can slow down military actions." Yanwoo leaned forward slightly. "In peacetime, these warriors are too dangerous to leave in command. They know too many secrets. They are too willing to do what must be done to win. But in a war against an existential threat like yours, they are too valuable not to use. Vrex's translator struggled to convey these concepts. The ideas were so foreign to Koru thinking. You attacked Earth, continued Yeonwoo. In doing so, you triggered Protocol Omega. This protocol activated thousands of retired commanders, each with decades of experience, each with their own plans and resources, and most importantly, each one free to act without asking permission. Vrex began. To understand the magnitude of his error, how many of these retired commanders exist? Thousands, said Yeonwoo, and each one has spent years thinking about how they would defend Earth if all rules were removed. As this conversation happened, Taewon and the other retired commanders were launching Phase 2 of their response. Across the globe, retired officers activated weapon systems that had been officially shut down years ago but secretly maintained. In her mountain cabin in what used to be called Colorado, retired weapons. Specialist Yoon Seo Kim activated a network of small satellites. These satellites had been decommissioned 15 years ago. On paper, they no longer existed. In reality, they had been maintained in secret, waiting for this day. Targeting system online, Yoon Seo said into her secure communicator. 37. Koru ships in range. In his command center, Taewon received her message. You are clear to fire, Specialist Kim. No need to confirm. That was the power of Protocol Omega. In normal times, such an attack would require approval from multiple levels of command. Forms would need to be filed. Ethics committees would need to review the action. Politicians would need to give their approval, but not under Protocol Omega. Under this protocol, retired commanders made their own decisions. They acted based on their own judgment, their own expertise, their own understanding of what needed to be done. Yoon Seo pressed the activation sequence. In orbit, the dead satellites came to life. They fired specialized weapons that the Koru had never seen before. The alien ships had no defense against them. Within minutes, 37 Koru ships were destroyed or disabled. Similar operations were happening worldwide. Former Special Operations Commander Hai-Jin Kwan, now a 64-year-old, grandmother of 5, led a team of fellow retirees to infiltrate a Koru communications hub. Using techniques that had been classified for 30 years, they redirected the aliens' own targeting systems against their fleet. Retired science officer Dae Jung-shin activated a virus that had been planted in Earth's communication systems years earlier, not as a weapon against Earth, but as a hidden tool to be used on this exact kind of day. On his flagship, Vrex received reports of these new attacks with growing horror. His own ships were suddenly turning against each other. Ground. Units could no longer communicate. Supply lines were completely broken. This is not possible, he insisted. No military can function this way. There must be a central command. There must be orders being given. Yeonwoo shook his head. That's what you still don't understand. We aren't following orders. We're following our own judgment. There is no command structure for you to disrupt, no chain of command to break. For the first time, Vrex truly understood the nature of his mistake. The Koru military was based on strict hierarchy, on warriors following orders from above without question. They had assumed Earth's defense would work the same way. Instead, they faced thousands of independent commanders, each one a master of war, each one deeply knowledgeable about their own territory, each one free to act without oversight. And perhaps, most terrifying of all, each one had been preparing for this day for years. This Protocol Omega, Vrex said slowly. It removes all rules of engagement? Yes, confirmed Yeonwoo. In normal times, our active military operates under strict rules. They must minimize civilian casualties. They must respect certain boundaries. They must get approval for major actions. He smiled grimly. But those of us under Protocol Omega, we have one goal only, save Earth, whatever it takes. Vrex turned to his intelligence chief. Send word to the High Command. Request reinforcements. But even as he gave the order, Vrex knew it might be too late. The Koru had conquered Earth's active military, but in doing so, they had unknowingly declared war on thousands of autonomous, experienced commanders who no longer needed permission to kill, and these commanders were just getting started. In his command center, Taewon received news of the latest successes. Phase 2 was working better than expected. The Koru were confused, disorganized, and increasingly desperate. "It's time," he said to his fellow commanders on the secure channel. "Prepare for Phase 3. Around the world, retired officers acknowledged the order, not because they had to follow it, but because they agreed with Taewon's assessment. The time had come for the final phase, the one that would show the Koru the true meaning of Protocol Omega, the true meaning of what it meant when Earth's most dangerous warriors no longer needed permission to fight. 1 month after the invasion began, the Koru Empire was losing. Their ground forces were cut off and surrounded. Their supply lines were broken. Their communication systems failed again and again. The alien soldiers, once so confident, now jumped at shadows. They knew attacks could come from anywhere, at any time. Supreme Commander Vrex gathered his remaining ships in Earth orbit. He had made a terrible mistake in attacking this planet. But he was not ready to admit defeat. Koru warriors did not surrender. They fought to the end. "Prepare for final assault," he ordered his captains. "We will hit the entire planet at once. They cannot stop us all." The plan was desperate. The Koru would use their remaining ships to bomb Earth's cities from orbit. They could not win this war, but they could still cause massive damage. They could still make Earth pay for resisting. In his underground command center, Taewon watched the alien fleet repositioning. His screen showed the Koru ships moving into attack formation. He knew what they planned to do. "They're getting ready for orbital strikes," he told the other retired commanders on his secure channel. "It's time for the Perseus Protocol." Across the world, retired officers sent back their agreement. Each had been given a piece of Earth's final defense system decades ago. It was a network of weapons placed throughout the solar system. On official records, these weapons had been taken apart after the last war. But that was not true. They had been secretly maintained by teams of retired officers who passed the responsibility down over the years. Perseus systems coming online, reported former Fleet Commander Jun-Ho Park from his small observatory in the mountains. All targets locked. In orbit, Supreme Commander Vrex prepared to give the order for the bombardment. His ship's weapons were charged and ready. But then, his sensor officer called out in alarm. "Supreme Commander, many objects approaching very fast. They're coming from all directions." Vrex moved quickly to the sensor display. "What are they? Earth missiles?" "No, sir," the sensor officer replied, his voice shaking. "They are asteroids. Asteroids." "Don't move like that," Vrex said. But these did. Hundreds of asteroids, carefully placed in orbit years ago, were now moving toward the Koru fleet. Hidden engines pushed them faster and faster. Each asteroid was aimed at a specific ship. The Koru had no time to escape. Their shields were designed to stop energy weapons and missiles, not massive rocks moving at incredible speeds. The asteroids tore through their ships like they were made of paper. Vrex watched in horror as his fleet was destroyed in minutes. His own ship shook as debris from other vessels hit it. Warning alarms sounded throughout the command center. "How is this possible?" he demanded. "How did they move asteroids with such precision?" His question would never be answered. A large asteroid struck his flagship directly. The massive Koru command ship broke apart in a silent explosion of metal and fire. On Earth, Taewon and the other retired commanders watched as the Perseus Protocol worked perfectly. The hidden mass drivers, giant engines attached to asteroids, throughout the solar system, had performed their task. The Koru fleet was destroyed. Phase 3 complete, Taewon said simply. Begin final cleanup operations. On the ground, the remaining Koru forces suddenly found themselves completely cut off. No ships in orbit, no reinforcements coming, no way to leave Earth. Many surrendered immediately. Others fought on, but were quickly defeated by Earth's combined forces, both the regular military and the Protocol Omega commanders working together. 3 days later, Taiwan sat in an emergency meeting of the World Defense Council. Many other retired commanders were there too. They had been called in to report on Protocol Omega's success. Young General Ji-Ho Kim, who had led Earth's active forces during the invasion, spoke to them with new respect. The Koru Empire has asked for peace, Ji-Ho announced. Their high command has requested terms of surrender. They will leave our solar system and never return. Taiwan looked at his fellow retirees around the table. They had done what they were trained to do. They had fought without limits. They had used every secret weapon, every hidden plan, every dark strategy they had developed over their long careers. It was why they had been retired in the first place, because such knowledge and such willingness to use it was too dangerous in peacetime. World President Haye Jin-yoon stood up. Earth owes all of you a debt we can never repay. The Protocol Omega. Authorization will end at midnight tonight. Taiwan nodded. It was right. The danger was past. Now was the time to put the old warriors back in their quiet retirement, to remove the freedom that made them so effective but also so dangerous, to return to the rules and limits that kept peace. After the meeting, General Ji-Ho approached Taiwan respectfully. Admiral, I never understood before why our best commanders were forced to retire when they still had so much to offer. Taiwan smiled gently. Because, General, a warrior who knows how to win at any cost is exactly who you want in a fight for survival. But in peacetime, such warriors can be dangerous. We know too many secrets. We are too willing to do what must be done. He placed a hand on the younger man's shoulder. Someday you too will be retired. And if Earth needs you again, you will be ready. The next day, representatives of the Koru arrived to formalize their surrender. The new Supreme Commander stood before Earth's leaders, his insect-like body showing signs of stress and defeat. We made a terrible mistake, the Koru leader admitted. Our studies of Earth showed that you retired your most experienced commanders. We thought this was weakness. We thought this showed that humans were soft. President Yoon smiled diplomatically. A common misunderstanding. We don't retire our greatest warriors because they are no longer useful. We retire them because, if unleashed, they are too dangerous to both friend and foe alike. As the formal proceedings continued, Taiwan watched from the back of the room. Tomorrow he would return to his small house in the countryside. He would tend his tomato plants and feed his chickens. His underground command center would go quiet. Again, his weapons would be hidden away, but they would not be forgotten, and if needed again, they would be ready. As would he and all the other retired commanders, those dangerous old warriors who had saved Earth because they no longer needed permission to do what had to be done. The Koru Empire had learned an important lesson, one they would share with the rest of the galaxy. Do not attack Earth. You might defeat its active military. You might capture its cities and political leaders. You might think you have won, but then you will face its retired commanders, those who no longer need permission to kill. And that is when the real war begins. The end.